Sometimes a moment can change your entire life. Sometimes a summer can feel like a lifetime. For me, that summer began on a festival night. My name is James. I was 22. It all started in Oakwood, a small American town, during the annual street festival where I met him, Ryan. Oakwood was magical in the summer. Old wooden houses, warm street lights, laughter echoing from every corner. On the festival night, the town square was filled with colorful lights. Country music played in the background. Kids ran around with balloons. I was standing in a corner holding a beer, watching the crowd. Then I saw Ryan, tall with dark blonde hair and blue eyes. He stood in the crowd in a black t-shirt, but it was like he didn't belong there. He held a coffee cup, a faint smile on his face. He glanced my way, and our eyes met. In that moment, my heart stopped. The world slowed down, the music faded, and all I could see were his eyes. I gathered my courage and walked over to him. My steps were shaky, but I couldn't stop. "Hi, I'm James," I said, my voice a little hoarse. "Ryan," he replied, his voice calm and warm. "You're new in town, right?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. "I came from Chicago. I decided to spend a summer here. I guess I needed some quiet." Our eyes met again. I could feel a spark between us. That night we kept talking through the festival. He told me about his life in Chicago, working at an art gallery but feeling overwhelmed by the city. "Oakwood's silence feels good," he said. I told him about the town, how I had spent every summer here since I was a kid, how the festival meant so much to me. Hours passed, but they felt like minutes. That summer, Ryan and I started spending a lot of time together. We walked through Oakwood's narrow streets, had picnics by the lake outside town. One day, while sitting by the lake, Ryan handed me a small stone. "Throw it," he said. "Let's see who can throw the farthest." I laughed, threw the stone, but his went farther. "You cheated," I said, our laughter filling the sky. That's when I knew I was falling for him. Every moment with Ryan warmed my heart. One day, while sitting at a small cafe in town, he told me about his dreams. "I wanted to open my own art studio one day," he said. "Help people put their emotions on canvas. I think that would make me happy." His eyes sparkled. "What about you, James?" he asked. "What's your dream?" I paused. "I guess just to be happy," I said. He smiled. "I think you'll make it," he said. One evening we met at the town's old drive-in theater. An old romantic movie was playing, but I couldn't focus on the screen. Feeling Ryan sitting next to me made my heart race. The light from the screen danced on his face as he turned to me. "James," he said softly. "You know, this summer, every moment with you feels like a dream." My heart pounded. He took my hand, our fingers intertwined. That night, under the stars, we kissed for the first time. That kiss changed everything. The bond between Ryan and me grew even deeper. We took walks through the town square at night, sometimes just sitting in silence, watching the stars. But summers are always short, aren't they? One day, Ryan gave me some news. "I have to go back to Chicago, James," he said. "It's my last year at university. I need to finish." His voice was heavy with sadness. "When?" I asked, my voice trembling. "In a week," he said. At that moment, it felt like the world stopped. 1 week, 7 days, 7 short days, and then Ryan would be gone. I looked at his face and tried to smile. "Okay," I said, "but let's make this week unforgettable." Ryan nodded. "Yes," he said, "let's make it unforgettable." That week was both the most beautiful and the hardest of my life. It felt like time was racing against us, every second slipping through our fingers. On the first day, we went to the town's little carnival. We rode the Ferris wheel, watching Oakwood's lights from above. "This is amazing, isn't it? The whole town feels like it's in the palm of our hands," Ryan said, holding my hand tightly. I smiled. In that moment, I wanted to etch every second with him into my memory. Another day, we went to the forest outside of town. There was a trail I used to play on as a kid, and I wanted to show it to Ryan. We walked through the lush green trees, sunlight filtering through the branches. We stopped by a stream, listening to the sound of the water trickling. Ryan, this is my childhood, I said. Being here with you feels like everything has come full circle. Ryan replied, James, being here with you, I'll never forget this moment, no matter what. We tried to live every moment of that week to the fullest. We ate ice cream in the town square, spent time in an old record store, and I played my favorite songs for Ryan. One day we went to the town's small farmer's market. There were fresh apples, homemade jams, and flower stalls. Ryan picked up a bouquet of daisies and thanked the elderly woman at the stall. These are for you, he said, handing the daisies to me. I took them and smelled their sweet scent. We kept walking through the market, the daisies in my hand, side by side. On another day, we climbed up to an old lookout point at the top of the town. From there, we could see all of Oakwood, the small houses, the festival square, the shimmer of the lake. The air was slightly breezy, and we sat close together. For a while, we didn't speak, just taking in the view. Then I remembered how I used to come here as a kid to count the stars. Ryan, when I was little, I'd come up here and try to count the stars, I said. We looked up at the sky, and a shooting star streaked across. I made a wish, but I didn't tell him what it was. One evening, we rented a rowboat and went out on the town's small lake. We stopped in the middle of the lake, watching the moon's reflection on the water. I put the oars down, and for a while we just listened to the gentle ripples of the water. It felt like time had stopped. A bird took flight from the trees by the shore, gliding over the water. Those minutes we spent in the boat were some of the most peaceful moments of the entire summer. On the last night, we had a picnic by the lake. The air was cool, and we wrapped ourselves in a blanket. The sky was filled with stars, but my eyes were only on Ryan. Ryan, you're leaving. But I'm scared I'll forget you, I said. James, you won't forget me, he said, because I won't forget you. This summer is just the beginning. I'll come back one day, I promise. He handed me a small piece of paper with his phone number on it. Call me, he said. My eyes filled with tears, and I hugged him tightly. That night, we sat by the lake under the stars for the last time together. After Ryan left, Oakwood felt quiet. Every time I went to the lake, I could almost hear his laughter. Whenever I passed through the festival square, the moment we first met would flash before my eyes. Every time I thought of him, I felt an emptiness inside me. Months passed, but I couldn't find the courage to talk to him. I kept his phone number in my pocket, but I couldn't bring myself to call. Until one day, my phone rang. When I answered the phone, I heard Ryan's voice. James, I need to see you, he said. My heart raced. Where are you? I asked. I'm coming to Oakwood, he said. I kept my promise. In that moment, all my longing came rushing back. When? I asked. Tomorrow, he said. Let's meet at the train station. I couldn't sleep that night. The next day, I was waiting for Ryan at Oakwood's train station. The air was cold, but I felt warm inside. When he stepped off the train, those same blue eyes looked at me. We ran to each other and hugged. I missed you so much, I said, my eyes welling up. I missed you too, Ryan said. That day, there was another festival in the town square. We walked hand in hand, the same country music playing. Ryan turned to me and said, This summer was just the beginning. Sometimes a summer isn't just a season. Sometimes a summer is the start of a love story. We never parted again after that summer. Do you think some people come into our lives like a dream? Or does every encounter hold a meaning? Share your thoughts in the comments.